just talking.
I'm just being uncool.
I don't believe in guilty pleasure.
A choice right now between fear and love.
Welcome back to Empower the Audience. It's been a long time. We should welcome ourselves back. It's been a long time. We had a really busy Christmas holiday season. A lot of crazy stuff going on, a lot of transitions, and just a lot of shenanigans and tomfoolery. So we're back, and we are here. I'm here with Chris, a.k.a. Movie Guy 84.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about some of the things we've been ingesting into ears, eyes, sometimes noses. Awkward. So we have to talk about the big Magilla gorilla of the holiday season, and that is Star Wars The Force Awakens. We don't even have to give spoilers. I don't think we need to talk about what we thought about this. We only have things to say about certain robots with the number 8 in them.
V8?
Yes, did you enjoy said magnetic, he was magnetic for you, robot?
Yeah. Yeah, I was really excited about BB-8. Bought a bunch of stuff before the movie came out that was BB-8 related. And then I was thinking, you know what, I really hope that BB-8 is not the next... I've even forgotten his name right
Jar
now.
Jar.
Jar Jar Binks. He got pushed out of my head.
Droid rule.
Yeah, so I was really hoping he wasn't going to be the next one, but he turned out to be amazing. And seems to be a fan favorite with a lot of people.
Yeah, he was definitely sympathetic. I mean, I think a lot of people... I think I'm starting to feel that I do like R2-D2 as one of my favorite characters. I never really thought about my favorite characters in Star Wars, even though I've grown up with it and kind of been saturated in it. But I do really like R2, and I like the fact that he is this droid, but it can also be very emotional and sympathetic. And if you like R2, you got way more of that with BB-8, that's for sure. As far as what J.J. Abrams brought to the table, I don't know if I talked about this probably when we had Robbie on, about how it seemed that J.J. Abrams was doing chess moves with the haters, the internet hate, with doing practical costumes, practical masks, practical puppetry, and all that kind of stuff. Getting Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Empire and Jedi, co-wrote those. Just all of these things, it seemed like he was being the smart guy that you expect him to be. And he did a really good job. I had to watch it a second time. I knew even watching it the first time, knew I had to watch it. Partly because we were in a little bit too immersive situation towards the screen. Where we're at, we actually have recliners where we were, so that was nice to tilt back a little bit. But I also it's hard to see those movies and not be filled with expectations and have that kind of color your experience. For me, it was like that, but it wasn't bad. I just knew that I needed to some time and see it one more time again, especially pulled back where I wanted to see it. And it did help. And the only thing I'm going to say, there's no spoilers, but the two main characters of Rey and Finn, what J.J. Abrams is really good at doing, and I hoped he would do, is bring a better emotional connection between the stars and the fans and the audience, which I've seen before in shows like Alias that JJ did, and man, did he really! I actually kind of said Luke who, Leia who.
Yeah,
I was like that because you just immediately he got you into their psyche. Now I have a personal theory about this because if anybody's ever heard an interview with George Lucas, and I don't expect anybody to be a super uber fan where they might have hunted that stuff down, but you are going to see what you would think of as a nerd when you hear Lucas interviewed. He knows how to talk, but he has that kind of awkward disconnect type thing going on when he just seems like that. So I think that actually might have. I mean, when you write something, you're going to write your own psyche, and I think that's part of why there might have been a different situation, because it seems like J.J. Abrams, although as nerdy as can be, he seems to connect to the emotions of characters very, very well. And so I did hear an interview with Kathleen Kennedy on Nerdist. Got to give all props for that interview, and she said that Lucas had problems with his dad, like most of the guys in his generation, of being a boomer, where his dad wanted him to take over the family business and he wanted to race cars and make movies. So if you want to do a dime store, maybe Lucy from Peanuts psychoanalysis on that, it makes you wonder why there's so many daddy issues in Star Wars. So anyways, I did enjoy it. It makes you want more. That's basically what it does. It really does. And I think a lot of movies you could say that about, especially when you know there's going to be more movies. Yeah. But this one really did. And it, one of our roommates, Vince, said there was something missing. And I kind of felt that the first time I saw it, but it wasn't really clear. And when I saw it the second time, it's like, oh, they just got us into it again, where it never really was a mystery. Star Wars weren't necessarily mysteries. They were just like a saga that, you know, you have the bomb of Vader being the dad and everything. Spoilers. But it wasn't really kind of a mystery. And that's kind of what Abrams does, you know, with Lost and all that stuff. He loves that kind of concept of mystery. Mm-hmm. And so he brought that to this, and I think that's going to even reinvigorate the story.
You know, I never looked at it that way, the whole, like, J.J. Abrams and the way he builds his characters and brings them to life in a way that gets you emotionally invested in them so quick. And I never thought about that, but it's totally true. Because, I mean, it made me think back to when you meet Rey in the movie, and the first bit of getting to see her and know her and stuff, she doesn't say a whole lot. And there's not a lot that she does. Like, there's no, like, voiceover of, like, I've been on this planet for so long, and my parents left me here. And,
exactly, or a Lifetime movie thing where she's telling somebody that, you know, you look like you had a rough life, and then they just go on this big diatribe. No, you just visually see it.
Yeah,
you
and
see where she's at.
Done so well, and she is so great in this role, in just with no dialogue, conveying so much interest into this character of, you know, of where she's at and what she wants. And, I mean, you know right away, you know, what her goal is, and, you know, when she sees that rocket leaving and then her putting on that X-Wing helmet and everything, you're just like...
Yeah, it's great. It's a great thing with her character because... if you've seen any of the trailers, you're going to see that big Star Destroyer crash landing on this planet, and that's where she lives. And it's kind of an interesting thing where my mind always kind of looks for symbolic stuff. It kind of sees things in that way, and so if you can apply this stuff to what we're going through now, the children of wartime, because that's pretty much what it is. And it really struck me with Finn. The more I thought about his character, especially the second time I saw it, Finn is the stormtrooper guy that you see breathing heavily in the first trailer, and I don't think this is a major spoiler. They're recruited. These stormtroopers of the First Order, which is the new organization, not the Empire. They're recruited as children and then kind of brainwashed into being stormtroopers. Well, not to put too fine a point on it, you have an actor who's British, but he's from Africa. He has an African last name. I can't remember his last name right now. But in Africa right now, there are child soldiers in the Sudan and like Darfur area, and that really went through me the second time watching it and thinking more. I don't know if this was intentional on J.J. Abrams, and that actually doesn't matter. The more you get into the artistic side of writing and movies and all that stuff, if you take something with you, it doesn't matter if that's where the director or the writer was coming from. It's still valid that hit you in that way, and you connected it to it that way. because that's the cool thing about art is everybody brings whatever they have to it, their mind, their spirit, their soul, their emotion, all that kind of stuff, and that's what really hit me about that. And I think it's an interesting thing that Star Wars, at least in my experience, had a topical reference when it never really has in the past. It's kind of just been its own little fantasy world. So that was really cool. That was a nice, fresh thing too. What was his name with the actor's name?
John Boyega.
Boyega, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So, he was great. He is British, but he doesn't have an accent in the...
And I have to say, I was surprised in the movie, because I'd seen him on a couple other things before the movie came out.
Attack the Block? Was
Attack the Block, yeah, the movie. And so when I saw him in this and he first started talking, I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. For them to do that with that character, because I mean, a lot of these characters are not. I mean, they just have accents. They just happen to. And
well, they film it in England, so that I think a lot of that was the thing. Like in the beginning, where they filmed at Pinewood, I believe is the name of the studios in England, and so a lot of the actors were probably either dream actors of Lucas to work with, or they just put out a call because you had Peter Cushing, who was Grand Moff Tarkin from the original trilogy, and there was just a lot of great British, obviously Al Guinness, all that kind of stuff. So it's always feels right. So I understand what you're saying. He could have had a British accent in it, but I don't know. Maybe maybe because did she? Because she's British as well.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, and she had her accent.
She had her accent. So it was. I don't know what it is. That'd be an interesting thing to see JJ comment on, of having him be. But I think it did good. At least, I mean, we can only judge because we're Americans. But he had this kind of boyishness to him. He was, not exactly cut out to be a stormtrooper. That's kind of the whole concept of it. And so I think it worked. It was fun, and I've read articles on this for them to have Rey be a strong female character. I think Leia always was a strong female character to a point. Yeah. You saw her in some firefights, but not a whole lot. But with this Rey character, it's definitely the second iteration of that, because she's really tough. And you put her with Finn, who doesn't know what he's doing most of the time. In that way, he has his strengths, and I'm sure that we're going to see even more of them in the upcoming films. But he's really the tag along for her, and I thought that was a really interesting thing and a cool thing for little girls to say, "Oh, I don't just want to dress in Amidala's dress for Halloween," but to have this kind of really tough. She, in a way, is a lot kind of like, I don't know, maybe a little bit of the Luke Skywalker character, a little bit. Or she's kind of a pilot, and I think that's kind of where she's going, like as far as
the whole wanting to get out of there, and not only just find her family, but be something bigger.
Have significance and all that stuff. Well, so that's pretty much. We're really looking forward for all the upcoming movies, because if you haven't been tracking it, there's going to be an X-Wing movie. I thought this year. Is that right? That they're coming out this year? I'm not sure, but maybe look it up on IMDb.
I heard something about it. But
there is going to be an X-Wing movie. Speaking of just one real quickly thing of X-Wing movies, the it's always fun for Lainey and I to see J.J. Abrams' best friend from like childhood, Greg Grunberg, show up in his stuff. If you've seen Heroes, he's Parkman in Heroes, and he was an X-Wing pilot in here. He had a few lines, but it was just kind of a fun thing, because I have a feeling that they were kids just growing up. I know J.J. Abrams made films a lot. That's how the whole Super 8 came out, of him being a film kid in high school. And so, that was kind of fun to see. Also, keep an eye out for, you probably have to IMDb to see your picture, unless you watch Scream Queens, but the girl in Scream Queens with the headphones on all the time is Carrie Fisher's daughter, and she has a cameo in this as well. There's a lot of other cameos, so if you're really interested in finding out who are all those stormtroopers, there are a lot of famous people there doing that, and so check that out too. So we have to talk about the Golden Globes. This whole show was launched about a year ago with the Best Picture Showcase, and we watched the Golden Globes, and it's an interesting year. I don't know if I'd how I'd characteristically characterize all the movies. It was interesting to see Ricky Gervais back. I've never had a problem with him. I don't mind rich, famous, pretty people getting ripped in two by somebody. It was amazing when Chris Rock was on the MTV Awards that long time ago, and he did it, and I think it's funny, but I know a lot of people are super sensitive about it or whatever, but it was fun. I know Lainey prefers Tina and Amy, but anyways, it was an interesting year. I'm trying to think of all the stuff. The biggest surprise, I think, probably was that Leo DiCaprio finally got an award.
Well, yeah, I believe he's won Golden Globes before.
Has he? Oh, okay.
I think he's gotten Golden Globes before, but not.
We like the pretty
man.
man.
The Oscar he has.
We like the pretty Italian man from California, Leo DiCaprio.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people were just saying he was going to get that, and he deserved it, according to a lot of people. I haven't seen the movie yet. But,
it's an interesting concept of like what it takes. A lot of times, Ricky flat out just like called them on the fact that you have to buy the awards and stuff like that. I don't know if that's true, but I think effort is a big part of it. So it's like that's why for years like things like Rain Man, and if the part's difficult to play or you had to go through something, and this is definitely a case where Alejandro Inarritu, I don't know, I can't remember all his whole names, but like really put them through it. From what I heard, they really went into a really crazy area. They didn't make fake snow in Burbank. No, they took him to crazy territories and really put it through. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with why he got it. I know Inarritu is in the spotlight right now because he just got Birdman last year. But I don't know. It was an interesting time. I don't remember like loving every minute of the episode. Did you win the pool? Chris won the pool. We have a pool every year. I don't know what you won. If you won anything,
I didn't win anything. The other person that got the highest, I'm putting together a little prize pack.
Yeah, we did a live chat or Google Hangout with Zany's group, Geek and Beauties, for the pool for who won. I never win. I'm like, I could tell you all this IMDb factitude about this stuff, but I never win these games. It's hard for me to pick. It's always fun with in the Oscars with the foreign category and just picking the title because you have no idea.
The part of the Golden Globes that I'm always really bad at guessing what's going to win is the TV portion. I feel like because I don't watch a lot of the stuff that ends up being nominated, I'm always guessing with that one.
Yeah.
Whereas the movies, I typically have a good grasp on probably what's going to win.
Yeah, I'm trying to rectify now that we have him in the house and HBO Go and all that stuff.
Yes.
We'll skip ahead to that since we're kind of there. I'm started him on Game of Thrones. He at one point in his life had an HBO subscription, but didn't for a long time. You used to watch True Blood and stuff like that. So we watched. Did we watch 2 episodes? We've seen
the first 2. Yeah.
First 2 episodes. Yeah. What do you think so far?
I love it.
Good.
I really, really want to. I really just want to sit there all day and just binge watch it because, like, the first episode alone just left it at a point where I was like, I need to see what's going to happen with these people. I'm already like picking sides with who I really like and who I hate, and the second episode just totally sealed the deal with who I'm not liking and who I am liking.
I'm glad I got a chance to watch it again with someone because I know other people in the house didn't really care. I'm actually current with the show, but I'm going back to watch it, and I'm glad I am because let me tell you, if you're overwhelmed by a show with 10 characters or less, this might not be the show for you. I remember a time, this is slightly off topic, but we were watching Lost and Heroes at the same time. And I could tell you, my poor little brain was going, what's going on with who now? And Game of Thrones will jam-pack 50 minutes of television, and they don't care. There's so many people, and you'll feel like that, but the fact that we have somebody to talk to about it is nice because I just kind of been watching it like before I go to bed and just kind of been like, I liked some of the characters, but I don't know.
And like Walking Dead, I think this is one of those shows that it's definitely a community experience. Like, you have to sit there and be like, oh my god, what do you think of that? What do you think? Oh my gosh, what is happening? Yeah. It's one of those shows to get the full experience, you really have to be there with someone else to just like kind of go back and forth about what's happening and what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, it's good because I did forget a lot. Like I said, I just jamming all of those characters into my brain. It just so it is nice to actually go back and understand stuff and see. And of course, with hindsight, you see all of things like setting up. Anyway, so that was Game of Thrones. Something you watched real recently that you got to go and say, I don't know where the inspiration is from. Lady Snowblood.
Lady Snowblood. Yeah, I was on Hulu the other night, and I'm like, you know what, I want to add some things to the queue and kind of see, kind of stock up on some stuff to kind of watch later. And I love how Hulu now has the Criterion Collection on there to stream. It's totally worth the subscription to Hulu just for that.
And we finally got the no commercial subscription, guys. If you are unaware, maybe you dropped off, you had Hulu Plus, or we always thought about getting Hulu Plus, but then heard somebody say, I don't know, it has commercials, and what am I paying the money for? For like $4 more, so it's like $11.99.
Yeah.
It's you totally commercial free. Like it's so worth it. We don't have any like tension. Like we still do DVR from time to time for the really current stuff, but yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. It really is.
I was going through the Criterion Collection on there, and I mean, so many really good classic movies on there, and from all kinds of genres. If you know Criterion and all the stuff they have in there. I saw they had stuff from like Charlie Chaplin's movies, Grey Gardens. Haven't watched it before, but I know of it just from pop culture and everything.
The only thing you've seen is documentary now.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So I really want to go back and watch the actual documentary to kind of see where a lot of that came from exactly. And then they had that Hard Day's Night. I added that because I've never seen that.
Oh, that's like so good!
A pretty big thing.
Yeah, I took Lainey to go see that in the theater, and she didn't. She knew the Beatles' music, but she didn't really know or never seen that movie, and so her favorite was Ringo from that, just because she likes the sympathetic characters always, and she that was fun. But yeah, that's a blast.
Yeah, and then some of the stuff I knew they had on there was stuff like Seven Samurai. I still have not seen that movie, and I really want to see it, especially since they're kind of going to do the Western version remake. The
Magnificent. It basically is, here's the, if you don't understand the whole, like, Akira Kurosawa was a Japanese filmmaker, and I honestly didn't know what his timeline was when he came about. But one time I read somewhere the whole concept, probably in a magazine, of the Seven Samurai is an interesting thing, because Seven Samurai, basically he took the samurai world and made it into kind of a Western type story. So, but because he was influenced by John Ford movies, like the John Wayne movies, most of John Wayne movies were by this guy John Ford.
Stagecoach.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And so people would say like. The later they remade Seven Samurai into Magnificent Seven, which is a cowboy version. Now the funny thing is it's full circle, because a lot of people go, "Oh, Magnificent Seven is as good as the original Seven Samurai," but like then they don't realize that was him, a love letter to American cinema of John Ford. So it's this kind of cool full circle thing. So yeah, that's a neat little.
And then, of course, the Zatoichi movies. I grew up with those. I love those movies, so those were on there. But I ultimately found Lady Snowblood. Never heard of it before, really. So I was like, I'll check it out. The description sounded interesting. And as I was watching this movie, I was like, oh, this is where Quentin Tarantino got a lot of ideas for Kill Bill from. The whole revenge story. I mean, there were even just like shots in that movie. I'm like, Kill Bill.
Yeah,
there it is again.
This is not an expose either on him. He would be the first one to tell you.
No.
Yeah, he. I've even heard him in Pulp Fiction. He went up to Samuel L. Jackson and said, "Okay, this is that scene from that movie," and that's how he describes what he wants out of the actors.
It's definitely not like, oh, he like stole it.
No.
It definitely is. A lot of his films are inspired from something else. It's homages and stuff.
Yeah.
So I never looked at it that way, but yeah, in this movie though, if you liked Kill Bill, you will love Lady Snowblood. It was really good. Great, like kind of Japanese samurai type of movie.
So it's a revenge. Is it basically a revenge?
Yeah, revenge story.
Yeah.
And it's kind of over the top a bit with certain things, a little cheesy, but it kind of done on purpose and in a a stylistic way.
Right.
So it works with the movie, and there's a sequel on there too. I just found yesterday, so I'm like, well, now I have another one to watch.
There you go.
So,
well, since we talked about Tarantino, we'll talk about the big movie. I was really excited. It was originally going to come out Christmas Day, and then they pushed it back, I think because they didn't want to compete with Star Wars or something. I don't know the whole reason behind it, but we were lucky enough to get into the Roadshow edition of Hateful Eight. Fortunately, it was like this. Here's how it went down. I'll break it down. A couple of my bosses at work were talking about going to it. I didn't even know it existed, really. And Chris had been trying to see if it was coming to town.
I heard about it, but I didn't think it was going to be anywhere near.
So we luckily, in that real quick set of circumstances, were able to go and say. So what the Roadshow edition was? It was a 70mm presentation of the movie. It was an extended version where you had an overture and Ennio Morricone, I think is the guy's name.
Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, and he had done all of the spaghetti westerns.
Yep.
I can't remember everything he's done, but I know he did the spaghetti westerns, the Clint Eastwood movies. So he actually, Quentin Tarantino, with all of his bravado and charisma, went to Ennio Morricone, which I don't even know how old is he. Look how old he was at full retirement, and basically said, "Please, I'm making a western. I love your music. Would you do my movie?" And he actually came out of retirement just for this movie. So
87.
He's 87 years old. So that'll tell you what kind of guy Tarantino is able to do. And
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He did that. Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was
the
the
Big Gun Down. I mean, really classic.
Yeah, classic guy. So, anyways, because that's what spaghetti westerns, were the Italian movies inspired again by the westerns of America. And so, Hateful Eight, it's a trip. It's basically kind of Western meets Agatha Christie, and I've heard that he actually described it like that, Tarantino in the magazine, where it was a concept of doing Western, but then trapping all of these people, potentially murderous people, in a space. Honestly, like if high schoolers could get away with it, they could do this as a play. You wouldn't even need there's a previous Stagecoach scene that they could probably work all that out. But it's definitely like that. So what's fun for me is to see Tim Roth back in the Tarantino universe, Tarantinoverse or something like that. Because he hadn't been in anything since Pulp Fiction. He was in Reservoir Dogs, and then he played was he Honey Bunny, or I can't remember the two names. She was Honey Bunny, and he was something else. The two people that robbed the Denny's, basically. And so that was a lot of fun, and you could tell he was having fun with his character, and this is the way he played it. But it's got Michael Madsen back, of course Samuel L. Kurt Russell back to see him interact with. He'd already been in Death Proof. Is that right? Death Proof? But that was still kind of a side project, and it wasn't really a Tarantino verse thing. And so to see him with that, and won't spoil a whole lot, but it's nice to see that the verse was definitely in full force with the whole Red Apple tobacco that was in casks. In wooden casks, because basically this place where they're staying is like. It's basically like a general store, but it has a fireplace and places to sit. It's in a territory. I think it's like Colorado. It's supposed to be. So it's snowing. So they have a place where they just allow people to stay there if they have to. A little bit. It wasn't full hotel. It was just literally one room place. But it was a lot of fun. Kurt Russell plays a bounty hunter, as well as Samuel Jackson plays a bounty hunter. And Kurt Russell has Jennifer Jason Leigh, new to the Tarantinoverse, as one of his captives. And
so good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. It's over the top. It's Tarantino straight up. And the thing about Tarantino that I love people that probably don't know his stuff and probably object to it because they think they know what it is. A lot of it's just talking. His stuff is just, like, basically you get to see the psychology of the guys, where in an action movie, you would see these people, do mostly action and maybe a little bit of talking before they get to the action. This is those people outside of the action a lot of the time, and you find out their psychology just through their conversations and stuff. And so it was a lot of fun. Again, there's no real point in spoiling it, but if you're a Tarantino fan, you'll like it. It was I don't know where it would rank in my favorites. I maybe should try to do that. I think Pulp Fiction is probably my number one, probably followed by Kill Bills, and then Inglourious Bastards, and then Django, and probably this, which doesn't say anything bad about it. It's just I respected Reservoir Dogs. It wasn't super keeper for me. It's good to see once for sure, but and as Jackie Brown was unfortunate for me because he's better when he writes what he directs, and this was an adaptation, so it didn't really feel like him to me. So that's kind of where I come down really quickly on Tarantino. Why don't we have you swap out with Marshall right now, and Marshall and I will talk about a couple of shows we watch on TV. Marshall's going to come over. Literally, he's walking over. I'm going to narrate every footstep. He's coming over. He's struggling. It's like what is it, DiCaprio in Revenant. He's going to get there. He will get his man. All right.
I'm here.
Okay. So Marshall, speaking of Star Wars, Marshall and I have been watching, ever since it came out, we've been watching Rebels. Rebels is the new Disney XD cartoon. I probably talked about it on the show before. It's set between episode 3 and episode 4.
Yep.
So it shows the founding of the rebellion, basically. You get to see the beginning of the rebellion. And I think a lot of people dismiss these cartoons. We talked in full length about Clone Wars on this show. I think they just don't think they want to bother because whatever reason. If they say they're a Star Wars fan, they should watch them because they're good. I want to say right now that Clone Wars had a lot more darkness to it, I think, but Rebels is really good for the main reason that Disney has the clout enough to get all the actors back for Darth Vader, for Lando Calrissian, for Yoda, and it's really interesting that Vince just walked in the door.
Hi. Hey. So another thing that I really like about it, the writing on both of these series really do expand out the universe a lot more. And these are considered story canon. So no matter, what you read in any book, this is part of the movies and can't be taken back, basically.
Yeah, and so you really you get to see what it's like because you understand up to a point of what it's like for a Padawan, basically, roughly in the prequels. If you watched Clone Wars, you get to see like the whole making of a lightsaber part of it at that level. What's happening in this is you get to see a closer to traditional Padawan situation in non-traditional circumstances. So you have the main character who's, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Ezra Bridger.
Ezra has force powers, and he amidst all of this rebellion is actually getting trained by one of the last Jedis that wasn't killed by all the bad people.
He was actually a Padawan during the Clone Wars. When Order 66 happened, his master either vanished or died. I don't know. I don't remember exactly which. And he ran. And basically became a scoundrel on the run.
So basically, even though they tried to automate the extinction of the Jedi, the Empire couldn't. Obviously, that's why we have Yoda. That's why we have Ben Kenobi. That's why, Obi-Wan and all of these people. So the remnants, the last remainings of the Jedi Order is still out there, and this is part of that. It's cool because it's a scrappy. It's kind of a hybrid of Luke and Han, and then it's a scrappy little ship that they don't smuggle. They actually are kind of terroristic in a lot of ways. That they really try to aid the rebellion, but also try to sabotage the Empire,
while at the same time looking out for the common people.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of how this group started, of stealing stuff from the Empire to make sure that the people of Lothal were taken care of.
Like a Robin Hood kind of scenario. So, so it's been getting really good. This season has already had Leia on, which is a lot of fun. They didn't get Carrie Fisher, but I'm sure she was a little bit busy at the time doing the actual movie. But it was still good. I like the characterization of her. I thought it was fun. And it was fun to see, like what I talked about with Star Wars with Chris, is you actually get to see her doing a lot of the rebel stuff as opposed to being in the white dress, captured, victimized, all kind of stuff. It's actually cool to see her being subversive and all that kind of stuff. The other thing we've been watching, first I didn't know if Marshall was going to watch it. I have to admit, I fell victim to the 20-minute intro to movie thing, the first look or whatever they call it. When you go to a movie theater and they run all that stuff, they ran this commercial for a show called The Curse of Oak Island. Apparently this show has been going on for previous seasons. I was not aware of it because I don't watch a lot of traditional cable TV, but they hooked me with it, the commercial for it. It's these two brothers, the Lagina brothers, and there's apparently this island called Oak Island in like Nova Scotia area.
Yeah, come around in there.
And it's
they are searching for treasure on this island.
Yeah, it's a big. There's a whole lot of history. There's a whole lot of rumor and legend of what could have happened on this island, and these guys don't. They're interested in that to the point, but they want to find out what it is. So they basically are standing on the shoulders of guys that have been doing this since the 1800s, and some of them still live on the island. They're working with them, but it's definitely like I can feel my heart like getting start beating fast in certain moments. They play it up. It's a reality show, which I do not watch, and I don't generally like how it edited. The only big negative for this show with us is the narrator that comes on and tells you what you've just seen or what you're about to see. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't.
2/3 of each episode is this narrator telling you either what you saw right before the commercial break, what you just saw half a second before, or what you're going to see in the next portion of the episode. And so it's literally, if you were to take out that narrator, you could probably fit the entire season in a single episode.
Yeah, maybe. But the thing about it is sometimes it's okay when they're showing maps and diagrams. Since we haven't seen the other seasons, he brings in the history of Oak Island. So
this is the second season? I thought this was
think
the first season.
No. I think they've done other seasons. I don't know. We'd have to look it up and see. But I think there's actually been more because they talk about older stuff as far as. But they're trying. I mean, it's just stuff like if I just describe to you the things they're doing, it doesn't sound as interesting as when they're actually doing it. But there's wild theories about Romans having dropped off treasure there. It runs the gamut of history.
Early episodes in the season pretty much had about 10 to 20 minutes of each episode where somebody would come up to the brothers and be like, hey, I have this theory about the island, and here's the evidence to that theory, so what do you think? And they're like, that's nice. Thanks for bringing that by. Have a nice day.
Yeah, sometimes. They're actually willing to try stuff out. as long as they'll go to a scientist or somebody in that field. What they're doing right now is having this diver go down this really narrow well, not really a well, but tunnels that were dug well-like into the ground and see if there's supposed to be treasure down there. But anyways, it's just a really intense show. If you get a chance, and it sounds like if you like treasure hunting and that kind of stuff, definitely worth checking out. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's for me. It's like I'll tell you, my favorite action movie, quote unquote, is Indiana Jones. It's the one thing I kind of measure everything against unfairly, and so that part of it is what I'm engaging with. Certainly not the reality side of it, but just
a lot of that is
story.
also what's getting to me. Like some of the things that I really enjoy about this show is the history that's going into this island and all the various theories that surround it, and the evidence for and against. They do kind of allow you to start trying to come up with your own theories of what's going on, because they don't have all the information. They're still looking for it. And the scientific results from things that they find will confirm and deny various theories, but you still have no clue what is going on this island. There is also the curse that they are speaking of is that 6 people have already died trying to find the secrets of this island, and according to legend, 1 more has got to die before they'll actually figure everything out. And so all the time that they're going through this bolt hole 10X, they have... You're constantly going, is this diver going to die? Is this diver going to die down there? Oh my gosh, is he going to die? So that's some of the tension. That's a little bit of fun for me. So certainly it wasn't fun for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they actually got a guy now that he's game. He's just like, I'm going to do it. They're on season 3.
Oh, this is season 3.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So we might want to look up seasons 1 and 2. And see
maybe if you want to. I think I'm good with this one. It's enough. It's like I don't have time. Like I asked my son, when did TV become homework? There's just too much to watch.
TV
so
became
behind.
homework when work became doing podcasts about television.
No, TV became homework when all of the movie writers that got basically phased out of studios needed a place to work, so they started working for TV, and then it got interesting. So, anyways, definitely check out. If you're a Star Wars fan, check out Rebels. I would even start with the Clone Wars if you can. I believe it's on Netflix. And if you want to keep up with it, Rebels. I wouldn't be surprised. The movie just slayed everybody.
Oh yeah.
If they might actually come out with more series that are different, even might run concurrent with Rebels. I don't know, but definitely.
I would totally watch a show about the rise of the First Order.
Yeah, well, there you go. And so we'll see what happens. But I'm going to talk a little bit about music now. I'm just a music freak, and I was looking into music services, streaming services, and I don't know if I've talked about them on the show before, but Spotify. I started with Spotify when it finally came to America, and I think it's interesting. I think its real strength is the social feature where you can share with your friends and on Facebook, and that's kind of cool. But the interface for me was too much like an iTunes, and I really think it's clunky. So I didn't really care about it. I like the social stuff. And ultimately might start making playlists for this show on there, but it just didn't really like the clunky nature of it. Then Beats came around. I tried out Beats. I really like Beats. Beats is more for music nerds. It's a really good way to have a feed, kind of like your Facebook feed, but it's suggestions of music to you, and it's really interesting stuff. It's like, for example, it'd be like the Neo songbook. So it's songs that he wrote that he didn't even record. So if you really want to dive deep into music, that's the way to go. And so I was really waiting and curious about when Apple bought Beats, and so now they have Apple Music, and I had to wait even longer because I have an Android phone. I finally got it and been doing the free trial of it, and it's basically Beats. It's in a beta right now, so it's a little bit. It's not too buggy. It's just I think the Wi-Fi integration is going to take a little bit to get done, but that's all right with me because it's back to being on Beats, and so I like it. A couple of newer artists I discovered recently. There's an artist named Troye Sivan. He's an Australian singer, and his music's kind of, I would say, definitely moody, kind of melancholy pop. I really enjoyed that album. It's it was really good. It kind of fit into my mode of what I like about pop music. You know, I like Seal, so I like a lot of that stuff that's more kind of experimental pop. I'm a big fan of. So he's really good. His name is spelled TroyeSivan, Troye Sivan. And so definitely check him out if you like that kind of moodier stuff like that. The other artist that I got suggested to me by a friend at work is Kendrick Lamar. He's a hip hop artist. He was a little kid in a Tupac video because basically when they did this song in Compton, they reached out to the neighborhood to come in and be like extras, and so he was this little kid in there, and so he grew up in Compton, and he's one of the he's big, he's getting big now, but he's so intellectual, so philosophical, not what you think of when you think of a hip hop video by any means. He really is like his hometown hit him hard in a way where he's trying to find better ways to live for himself and for other people. I definitely highly recommend Kendrick Lamar if you like hip hop and if you want conscious hip hop. That's definitely a good artist to check out. So I'm going to bring Chris back in. I don't even know if you remembered I was bringing him back in because he had his headphones on. He's getting up. He's walking across the room. This is the closest I'm ever going to get to sports announcing. We have a couple more things to talk about. New things. Chris had a birthday recently. And for the birthday, we went and saw this movie that Lainey had been reading the trilogy series. We have an audience member who's kind of creepy right now. It's Vince. He's taking lessons from Marshall. And so we went and saw this movie based on the book series. The first book is called Fifth Wave. And I started reading the book on audiobook, is how I do books. And I was kind of like, do I really need to listen to another teen post-apocalyptic story? Because it's just kind of depressing. So I actually bagged off the book after the first short bit. But Lainey had read it, so we went to go see it. And I'm going to steal Vince's quote about the movie. Lifetime sci-fi movie. These movies have a danger of going what I call the Twilight route, Twilight syndrome, and this one definitely did. If Hollywood doesn't, if these movies don't have a stronger director to buck the system of Hollywood of like, we've got to cast somebody hot, we've got to cast, we don't really care if they can act, they just have to be hot and they have to take their shirt off and all this stuff. I'm starting to call them pretty blanks. Because that is the CW factor for sure, or what was WB factor back in the day.
That perfectly describes them. Like, everybody looked good, but the acting was so disruptive to me, at least at times. And like one major one was the kid, the younger brother. And I understand, like, kid actors, it's not always going to be perfect. They're kids, But I feel like out of everybody they could have possibly had a cattle call for, like, this was the best kid they could have gotten to play the younger brother. Like, this kid had to have been related to somebody that, like, one of the producers. Cause
you're looking for conspiracy, I always do.
But yeah, seriously, like I had a terrible time having an emotional connection with him and Chloe
Grace Moretz's
character. Like when and it's not a spoiler, but they get separated, and he's in the bus, just like what was it? Cassie was her name. So he's like Cassie. I'm like, really, you're scared. You're being like taken away from her, and you're just in the back of the bus like Cassie. Like, I don't know, that part. I was just
I never was enamored necessarily with Chloe Grace Moretz. I saw, if you don't know who she is, she's in Kick-Ass.
She was in a vampire movie that was fairly good. Let Me In.
Let Me In, yeah.
Which was a remake of a really good one called Let the Right One In.
Right.
And that wasn't too hard to.
That was a foreign film, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were like, it was pretty much shot for shot remake.
Well, as far as the other actors, we'll give them props enough. They got Liev Schreiber to be this like general or general. He's great, of course. Maria Bello was a lot of fun as another military officer.
She was actually like the most interesting person I thought in the whole movie.
Who, Maria Bello? Yeah. She did a fun job. Ron Livingston was the dad, and I think he was fine. He did a good job in that. I thought the actor Ben Parrish or Nick Robinson. No, Nick Robinson. The character's name Ben Parrish. I thought he did a good job. And what Lainey said about the movie is the sisters, Chloe Grace Moretz's character, her part of the story wasn't the most interesting. What happened to the kid? Basically, the kid gets captured, and they're doing a soldier kind of thing with these kids. I don't really mind spoiling it because it's not a good movie. It's kind of a little bit of an Ender's Game scenario as far as what they're doing with the kids. And so, I literally had to wait probably at least 45 minutes to an hour to find a scene where I turned over to Lainey and said, that was a good scene. And it was a scene with the child soldiers and stuff like that.
And that was the fascinating part of the whole movie, was the whole, the kids being used as a military force against the others and everything. And I was like, that's an interesting concept for this. Okay.
I think the director thought he really had to grip you. And let's go back to Star Wars. I said, JJ's the guy who grips you with the characters and makes you feel for them really quickly. This guy needed a little bit of a consultation with JJ, because the whole beginning is this emotional thing about what's going on with the family of this girl and her little brother and her dad. They could have accomplished that in 10 minutes. The one thing I go back to is the Harry Potter, the first of the last two movies, where the scene where like Hermione's erasing herself from her family, and that was like a 5-minute scene. And granted, you knew who the character was, but I think you could have done stuff like that in a very short amount of time and got to the bigger part of the story. And it would have. So it was basically uneven. I think is the best way to say it.
To me, the reason I think that happened with this movie is I think they were really going for that, like you said, the Twilight effect. They were really trying to get that teeny bopper crowd for the movie, the hot guy and the girl that I can identify with, and trying to get, and that's what the crowd was in the theater when we saw it.
We had a bunch of teenage kids like either making out or giggling or whatever behind us,
and that's what they were going for. And I think that really hurt this. I think it could have been a really fascinating, alien takeover kind of movie, but it was really bogged down by that teeny bopperness.
And that's the problem with. The studios are a business. They're only going to see, they're only going to do the things that make sense to them business-wise. Yeah. But when I grew up in the 80s as a teenager, we had at least one person that stood up for us, and that was John Hughes. And he made us feel like we weren't stupid kids. Like, from was it Bye Bye Birdie, where that Paul Lynde goes, "Cads, I don't know what's wrong with these kids." That was kind of the attitude of Hollywood up to that point, where, there were probably some examples, maybe Rebel Without a Cause is probably an example.
And Steven Spielberg too in the 80s.
For sure. And so
producing like Goonies and stuff like that.
Yeah, where they actually take
real kids being real kids in these movies.
Yeah, and that's definitely had nothing to do with this movie, unfortunately. So, Another thing we want to talk about is a new series. Now, this series, this story came to me. A friend of mine said, you should read this book. It's kind of like a more grown-up version of like Hogwarts in a sense, where it's a master's level school in magic. And I started reading it. It didn't really grab me, but then when it came out, now it's now on Sci-Fi. It's called The Magicians. I thought I'll give it a shot, and boy, the way they set it up in here versus the book actually kind of grabbed you a lot. The funny thing is, there's this beginning scene where you see these two adults, and they're talking about these other characters that you haven't even met yet, and that to me, in a way, I was giggling because it was kind of like the very first scene in the Harry Potter story where Dumbledore's talking to McGonagall about like Harry, and where they're trying to protect him. These weren't kids necessarily in that sense. They're young adults. They're graduating from college, but there's an emotional element to it where it really grabs you if you ever like wondered what you were supposed to be doing in life and feeling depressed because you don't. That's pretty much the theme of the beginning of this story, where this character has that, and so he finds out about this magical school on that's like master's level magic, and it goes along a little bit. But I'm gonna tell you, the end of the first episode, we had 2 episodes on our DVR, and we got to the end of the first one, and even though it was kind of late, everybody's like, we got to watch that other one. So that should speak for itself. Definitely check it out. You can say some things you thought about it, but I wasn't sure about it when I first watched it. It was a little. It's kind of, there's stuff in it that's kind of creepy, and I'm not a huge horror fan, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember you were watching it. I was working on other stuff, and I kind of just like kept glancing at it, and ended up getting really pulled into the show because it had a lot of similarities to kind of Harry Potter and the Hogwarts situation with him, and what was going on with this main character. And that aspect of it pulled it in for me, like the whole magical and this kind of like a hidden world, and then there's even more to that than that, and it's really cool if you like fantasy of that nature. I think you'd really enjoy it.
I would say if you grew up with the Potter stuff and wanted something, because everybody wants, they can't wait for her to write something more. You know, she's coming out with the Fantastic Beasts or whatever it's called. But it's a good thing if you're like in your college age or whatever, and you see that it's something a little bit more grown up in this genre. And if you've ever been turned off by the Harry Potter thing and you wanted something that was a little bit more grown up, this might be a good one for you as well. So we finally made the end of our little sticky note on my computer. So we're back. We're going to be doing this weekly again. We won't have a site to point you guys to as of right now, but we're going to be doing more social media stuff to kind of let you guys know what's going on with us. And yeah, so thanks for listening, all you diehard listeners, and tell your friends so we can talk to more people. Bye. Say bye, Marshall.
Bye.
Bye, Chris.
See ya.